But on the back of our economic woes, there's also that renewed push when it comes to Ken Ofori-Atta.
Yes,
very quickly on that. Let me bring in Al-Hassan Suili, because I also want his take on on that specific
talk on that one.
Yes. So I will address that. But when I heard my brother talking about big infrastructure, I was just thinking to myself. I mean, in the health sector, for example, is there any infrastructure that is completed and put to use bigger than the UGMC, bigger than the Rich Hospital in this country, bigger than the Tamale?
But I think he also made a point
bigger than the Upper East Regional Hospital.
The fact that
I'm still
other components
I'm still counting. I said the Upper East Regional Hospital.
Urology.
Can I finish? Can I finish?
Bigger than Rich.
Can I finish?
Let me make you aware.
Can I finish?
That if you go to Kolebu now, the urology building is bigger than Rich.
All right. So let him. Please let him.
The maternity building,
please,
bigger than Rich.
Please, I'll address that. I'm saying that. Is there any project in the health sector that they have done bigger than all these that I have mentioned, from the Upper East Regional Hospital to the Tamale Teaching Hospital to the Rich Hospital to the UGMC and all of it? Have they done that? And in the roads and highway sector, is there a project bigger than the T3, than the whole airport, than the Kumasi airport, than the Tamale airport? Have they done any projects in the highway sector bigger than these? If you are talking about education, the e-blogs are there for you to see. And yet, the interesting thing is how much was used to do that? How much came to government around that time that these ambitious projects were undertaken? And yet, even as that government embarked on these projects with little resources, our economy was not in this dire straits. That's what you need to remember. To whom much is given, much is expected. And you are talking about a government that inherited 2 additional oil wells that were put, that were put together by the previous government for them, making 3 wells from which they got their revenue from. You're talking about expansion of the port.
On that aspect, we can always talk about the fact that, when post the Kufuor administration, when the NDC came into power, you came and benefited from, in 2010, from the oil bill.
That's not the comparison I'm making. That's not the comparison I'm making. I'm merely saying that as we go on, there are more benefits that can come. Yes, I am not comparing. Good. That's the point. I'm not comparing the Mahama Mills regime to the Kufuor regime. That's not what I'm doing. I'm comparing the Mahama Mills regime to the Nana Akufo-Addo regime, and I'm saying that under the Mills Mahama regime, they inherited oil fine from the Kufuor regime, which they put to use. Can I finish? Which they put to use. One well they put to use and did all these ambitious projects that they did and has been put to use by the people of Ghana. Now you have 3 wells, so you should expect more. And when you get them more, your economy shouldn't be in these dire straits. Yet we have a situation where we don't have them more, and yet our economy is in this mess. And so when I hear him talk about they have embarked on all these, I'm wondering, where are they compared to the previous and compared to the resources that were used to do that and compared to the health of the economy at the time, even when the government of the day did that. But the point about
10
that's a lie.
UGMS.
Forgive me. That's a lie. We know the budget. No, check the budget. We know how much is spent on free SHS. That's a lie.
You know how many
we're spending? So please, we're spending a few billion.
So please don't even go there. Don't even go there. Don't go there.
Or you not admit
don't go there.
Don't go there. You another range.
So
you not admit that.
So let's talk about the fact that even you agree that the economy has been so mismanaged by the man in charge of the economy.
Let's talk about the man in charge.
That's what I'm going to.
That's the point.
That's what I'm saying. Can you let me finish the sentence?
That when you're done, I don't know why you ran away from Ken Ofori-Atta and threw it to him. I'll come back to you.
I ran away. I haven't run away.
You parried it to him. I want to find out what the stance of the majority is. So when he's done, I'll come back to you.
I'm saying that all this argument is needless because even they agree with us, the common people and opposition, that the man who has managed our economy has done such a bad job that they want him changed. They agree. It is just that they have lost
what they agree to. You know that.
What else? What were their reasons?
They say
what were their reasons?
He is not good for the optics. He's been labeled. He's been branded. There's so much that has happened And that is not necessarily because he was reckless. You remember the parliamentary committee sitting, and it's not that he's been reckless, but he's been tagged in a certain light. And so let someone else come and take over. That's their stance. They don't agree that they've been reckless. They don't agree.
I mean, so that is part of the problem. And that's why I said in our first conversation, in my first, submission, that there's a need for the government to be honest about how we got here. And together we can all appreciate the roles we have to play to get out.
Right.
Because you cannot have credit to ABA, water in your mouth, and be blowing to rekindle fire. You cannot say the man is so good and has done such a fantastic job, but because he contradicted himself on IMF, he must go. What logic? How reasonable is such a call? When the man is so good and has done such a fantastic job, you want him change just because he said we won't go to IMF and we have gone to IMF. But nobody's going to buy that. So the truth that they are running away from is that they feel the pinch of the recklessness and the mismanagement. Their constituents are attacking them because things are not working. And that is why they were compelled to agree with us and to demand that the president should change him. Unfortunately, the president, like he does even to everyone, that's how he became president in the first place, tricked them.
Have you been tricked?
No.
Are you still looking forward to ousting Ken Ofori-Atta?
Listen, I think
you say you've not been tricked.
Let me be very clear here. The majority we had our meeting with the president, and the arrangement was that he would review the decision about Ken going or not when the IMF deal is concluded. And as it stands, I think that Suhini has to admit to the fact that we are parliamentarians. And our duty is to make a case to the full extent possible. And I think that if he'll be fair, to the extent that even with the party in power, the majority leadership and members made their case. And I think the final decision rests in the bosom of the president. And
you made your case, but when you had the opportunity to put, maybe not pen to paper, but to put that commitment, bring it to bear, you chickened out.
No, the path was different. And I must be very clear here. We agreed that it was necessary that he goes, but the path they chose was not...
Which goes back to what I was saying. Fine.
Yes. So it's not that we chickened out.
No.
And he has to agree to the terms that we said that the justifications you were given were not in sync with ours. Ours were very key that, listen, there's a man that didn't want us to go to IMF. The president had to actually make a case for it. And in that sense, we felt that there are two key things we said. Credibility, and confidence of the Ghanaian people had waned. And in finance, when you lose those two things, it's difficult. Those were our claim, not all the things that the NDC were making. So the argument was very simple, that we felt that credibility and confidence were low, and that was it. And beyond that, as it stands now, I think that, listen,
how do you lose the two in managing an economy?
In all fairness, I think that as it stands now, members of parliament, we've made our case.
How do you
lose
confidence and
the power is in the appointing
when you are managing
authority?
An economy?
Please let him.
Really, right. I don't get it.
The power is in the appointing authority, and as it stands now.
So you feel as legislators on the majority side, you've done what ought to be done?
To the full extent.
To the full extent.
And the thing is, we have a country to keep afloat. We are legislators.
Can the economy only be kept afloat with Ken Ofori-Atta?
Not necessarily.
You have the men, remember?
Not necessarily.
You have the men.
I agree with you.
Area boys.
There are many people.
You say they are what?
Area boys.
Who can... as it is, And the other thing too is that, in reading Black Swan, a book, sometimes we give too much credit, or we put a lot of blame on somebody when there's a cataclysmic issue, the likes of a tsunami, that then takes off, and we fail to recognize that even if whoever had the Holy Grail was seated in Ken Ofori-Atta's seat, with the circumstances, if the authority on finance in the world, people in the likes of John Stigler and others were in that seat, the same thing would have happened.
You're saying that even if the likes of, and I'm just bringing this in on the lighter note, Professor Steve Hank of the Johns Hopkins, who has been on the back of this administration, even if he had been at post, probably
there's that argument.
Any different.
There's the argument. So,
okay, all right.
So I really think that, we have to weigh all of these things. But like I said, in summary, that the onus is on the president to make that decision.
Do you want, the majority side, from where we are, do you want, Mr. President, to still go ahead and find a replacement for Ken Ofori-Atta? Are you still going to push for that?
I think that this is one of the things that we haven't had a meeting again about this. I mean, in all fairness, and I cannot talk for the...
What's your personal stance?
My personal stance is that I think that there was an arrangement and the onus is on the president to make a decision.
So to stick to the arrangement and go ahead with ousting Ken Ofori-Atta?
No, the arrangement was that, when the IMF is done, we'll have...
Exactly, it comes back to the same thing.
Yeah, so as it stands now, I think that, if some things have changed, maybe he can brief us. If some things have changed.
Doc,
yeah.
Should Ken Ofori-Atta go? This was the deal. The deal was he sees us through the IMF deal. Yeah. We've got the deal. Is it time for him to go?
I wouldn't say yes to that.
No.
I think
I thought you just said that the president should stick to the plan. That was the plan.
Listen to me.
That was why you agreed to the president.
Listen to me carefully. I think that the final decision rests in the president's bosom.
I will advise the president not to let
As it stands now, if there's something new, he can let us know.
All right.